If you struggle with feeling like criticism is everywhere, internally and externally, and you feel like you are never enough, then I want to share two important shifts that you can make internally to provide some relief. My name is Jaclyn Foster, and I am the author of I Touch Myself, Lessons to Wake Up Desire and Fire Up Your Sex Drive. And this channel is about providing you with permission and how-to tips to both communicate and live out your sexual and your general life desires, and do it in a way that makes you feel happy and fulfilled and alive. So you feel like you have this critic inside you internally all the time and externally, and it's like, how do I get away from this feeling of criticism and never being enough? Well, before I even give you these two perspective shifts, I want to remind you how important it is to acknowledge that you have an inner child in you that so wants your love and attention. Now, this might seem a little bit airy-fairy floofy to think, I'm an adult right now, I'm not a kid anymore, I shouldn't be living like a kid, and in no way am I saying disregard your adult self. Not at all. What I'm saying, though, is there's a child in every single one of us that feels pain and hurt in ways that haven't been truly reconciled for most of us. There's kind of unresolved pain. And the more that we tend to just push ourselves through that pain and pretend it's not there and ignore it, it's pretty normal, and it can be common that we actually find ourselves in more pain and discomfort as adults by not acknowledging and integrating that child. Because let's just face it, no matter how much our parents wanted to love us and take care of us, there were times during our childhood, for the great majority of us, where we didn't feel acknowledged, where we didn't feel loved and recognized. And it happened in a time where our little brains were creating these neural pathways and connections, and were really developing what was right and wrong. And so if we heard something a lot or felt something a lot, without doing anything wrong, we started to believe that that's the way that things should be. Now, the struggle with that as adults is if we started to learn that our value comes dependent on what we do in the world, or our worth is dependent on a specific way we constantly show up that doesn't feel true to us, it can create a lot of pain and disconnect and conflict when we're adults. So how do we start to reconcile that? Well, one, we need to really make peace with the fact that as adults, we have this inner child in us that's hurt. And two, we make the decision to honor that little child in us and to ask it what it wants and needs. And I'd like to share two things I've realized in starting to reconnect with my inner child that are really important, that I think you might connect with as well. The first one is acknowledgement before action. I don't know how you live, but I often felt like growing up and as an adult that I always had to do something before I could acknowledge myself. It's kind of like that dangling carrot, right? Where it's like that carrot is right there, and if you just do more, you can maybe give yourself credit for it. I found that I've done that so much in my life, but I think I grew up a lot with hearing like, hey, I get praise once I've done something. And so there's always this constant drive to do more and to be more. But the thing is that if all I'm ever doing is trying to be more and take more action, I never get that acknowledgement I'm hoping for. And as that inner child part of me has really helped me see, in order for me to feel well, acknowledging myself regardless of what I've done and what action I've taken is so crucial to feeling more of that value and worth, just for opening my eyes in the morning and just for waking up that day. And I find that through doing that, it's actually extremely practical, because then I have more energy. When I'm acknowledging myself just for being alive and just for waking up that day, I actually feel more energized. Whether it be like, I love you, thank you for waking up today, or even just checking in with how I feel. Like, oh yeah, I am feeling a little tired today. I'm feeling overwhelmed today. Oh man, I'm thinking about this stuff I have to do. Oh, that's okay. Acknowledgement can come through either just loving yourself up by acknowledging how you feel, by journaling a little bit before you get started, but I encourage you to play with acknowledging who you are just as a human being before you even take any action or ask yourself to do more. The second thing that I've come to really find as important for that inner child part of me is focusing on experience over expectations, or experience over end result. I feel like these two are slightly intertwined because they focus more on actually being over doing. But this part of it is when you have to do something, a lot of times, I don't know about you, but I've lived and I felt like I learned in a way where it was more like, just get through it. Just get to the end of it. And my inner kid gets so pissed when that's all that I do. My inner child part of me that wants to play and have fun is like, God, if you tell me to do one more thing, I'm going to freak out, or I'm going to go in the room and I'm going to totally ignore you, right? And that part of me, that inner child part of me, that part of me that was that kid that was growing up that just wanted to play and didn't get to, wants to know that as an adult, when I can choose this consciously, I'm actually deciding to focus on making what I'm doing an experience over just constantly forcing. And the way that I think about this is, how can I engage my senses? For example, can I maybe listen to music? Can I light a candle? If I'm writing, can I do it with color so it's not just black and white? How can I make this actually fun over just trying to push myself through it? And this might be hard initially. You might be thinking, man, I don't know, maybe it's just better to push myself through it and get through it. But I imagine that if you're that type of person that just gets through things, you don't just do that some of the time. You probably do it a lot of the time, and maybe more than you actually realize. And so by choosing even one activity in your life where you can start to make that more of an experience over getting things done, I imagine you might notice, again, you feel some relief, you feel some energy, and there'll be a calming of that critic, because you'll actually be slowing yourself down enough to acknowledge who you are now. And I'm telling you, my experience, my inner child was so happy with me starting to do this and just wants me to do it more and more often. So my challenge to you is to pick one of these two perspective shifts and start to play with them. One is either acknowledging yourself before you take action during a day, or two, focusing on your experience over the end result. Pick one of these two, reflect on it, and try to apply this in your own life and see what happens. If you're doing this, see if over time you notice you feel more relief, that internal critic quiets, and you start to feel more acknowledgement, more recognition, more appreciation for who you are right now, regardless of whether or not you spend the day plowing through some amazing stuff that you're super proud that you got done, or it's one of those days where you just feel like you need to lie on the couch and chill. You are worthy, you are deserving of love regardless of whatever you do during the day and what you choose. And it's so fundamental and really important to relieving and letting that inner critic go, to find a way we can acknowledge ourselves regardless of what we're doing. Pick one of these two, give it a try, leave a comment below. If you enjoy these videos, make sure to subscribe to this channel so you get updates. And until next time, I'm wishing you an amazing day. Keep your desire alive, and I'll see you next time. Mwah.